what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Thief and Dragon's Dogma 2. We're going to talk about different builds. We're going to talk about the gear and weapons, different kinds of builds that you can use for different situations. We're going to touch about on your pawn setup, even some Wayfarer combos if you're interested in using the Wayfarer and the dagger. And yeah, let's get into it. What I'm going to be using is let's go over the gear first. Towards the end game, we're going to be using the frosted edges. You get this pretty much for free in the Coral Snake's hideout in Dogma. Let me quickly give you you get it over here, Coral Snake's hideout. So as soon as you enter through the western checkpoint town, you're going to go down here and eventually, I mean, it's not difficult to miss this quest. You're gonna come across the Coral Snake's quest line pretty much the first thing in Dogma. Anyway, before that though, actually, so the frosted edges will last you through the end game. It'll take you through every area in the second half of the game. For the first half of the game, you can get the daggers. Let's see. Yeah, this is where you want to be. You're going to get the lightning daggers pretty early. What you can do is, as soon as you reach in Vermund, you can take the ox cart on the left side of the town and you can take a right to Checkpoint Rest Town. It only costs 200. And then you can run all the way here to this cave and you'll find the daggers just waiting for you. It's super easy. You can get them really, really early on and that'll last for like the first half of the game. As far as the build is concerned, let's go over my build for the Thief. So right now, let me quickly equip Blades of the Pyre. So this is going to be my end game build where we use Skull Splitter, Formless Feint, Implicate, and Blades of the Pyre. This is my personal, I call it the Maister build because we're using the OP combo Formless Feint with Blades of the Pyre. What this does is, as you saw in the clips before, you pop in Formless Feint, you become immune to pretty much every single damage, you auto dodge everything, and then you use Blades of Pyre for knockdown and damage. This combo is ridiculously strong. I don't need to explain it. There's hundreds of other videos out there that go into this as to why this is an amazing skill. Now, next up, we've got the Skull Splitter. Again, insane DPS. You cannot go wrong against this or against big targets using this. Now, I want to talk about Implicate a little bit, just a little bit. Why this is actually my favorite skill in the entire game. Why? Because it's such an easy to use ability and so versatile. Harpies, no problem. Implicate. Wolves, run fast around you, no problem. Implicate. Shielded goblins that refuse to take a hit from your knives, no problem. Implicate. Armored goblins and hobgoblins that take so long to kill, no problem. Implicate. Those rocky saurians that refuse to take a hit from your daggers, again, no problem. Implicate. Implicate is such a versatile skill. It can also topple targets once they're staggered, as you can see in the clip here. This is my favorite ability of the Thief. No, hands down. This is amazing. And I'll also I'll talk about the combinations this has with other abilities. So let's say if you want to use a plunder build, for example, if you want to steal stuff, plunder requires you to have, it lets you steal from enemies that are not aware of you, but this is kind of misleading. It also lets you steal from enemies that are staggered, knocked down, and in general they're unaware of you. You can also use this with Smoke Shroud. It's just an insane ability. Smoke Shroud is also an option. I have this ability in my second build option, right? You could use Smoke Shroud with Implicate and just steal stuff and plunder if you want. All right, so let's talk about let's talk about all the other abilities. Like early on in the game, you're going to be using your biting wind and cutting wind combo. I feel this is a nice starting ability, but not really that great, right? Same goes for ignited blades. Early on, it is a good option for you to get some fire damage, but I would just use a mage with the fire enchantment early on in the first half of the game. Shadow cloak, cool, nice. I just prefer smoke screen or smoke shroud rather. It is so much better. As you can see in this clip, all those goblins are unaware of you when you put down the smoke shroud. What you do is just simply press twin fangs after you put down smoke shroud, and you'll just assassinate every single enemy that's unaware of you. That includes Saurians, all those rocky Saurians as well. Just such good ability. Right, now I'll quickly go over all these other things. Powder Blast is great if you want to climb, but I feel that towards the end, once you get Draw and Quarter, you don't really need it, right? Concussively, nice, but I would honestly, there's better options. I personally prefer Levitate for getting around and finding those Seeker's Token and whatnot. But it's a nice ability for traversals if you really want. Let's see. Plunder, it's a really good ability as well, again, but it's better used on your pawn. I wouldn't use it for yourself. Just put it on a thief pawn. They're a lot better at plundering abilities, plundering enemies. Now, Draw and Quarter, and this is like, actually this skill is called Gut and Run, and it upgrades to Draw and Quarter. It is an insane ability. It lets you, if you prefer the climbing style, it does so much damage. So this is actually one of the abilities that I recommend for a climbing build. I'll get into that in just a little bit. All right, so we've got Master Skill. It lets you basically parry, Masterful Kill or Easy Kill. Lets you parry enemies just before they hit you, and you can go in for a crit. Again, once you have Smoke Shroud, you really don't need this. I mean, you could parry like large enemies like Ogre swings, the Cyclops swings and whatnot, but it's just way too situational. I do think Smoke Shroud is a lot better at it. But if you're good at parrying things, sure, why not? Blades of the Pyre, I don't want to get into it too much. It actually damages you if you use it, but it does so much damage. However, if you use Formless Feint, yeah, you can use Blades of the Pyre as much as you want, as you saw in the clip. How do you acquire these two? You go talk to the Maister, just a very quick quest line. You can finish this quest line really early on in the game. I do have a video, go click on it. If you want to know how to get this ability early on, I have a detailed video on it. All right, now let's get into the builds. Now this is what you see here: Skull Splitter, Blades of the Pyre, a Formless Feint, and Implicate. This is my go-to build for endgame. It is such a versatile build. You can take care of big targets with Formless Feint and Blades of the Pyre, and for everything else you've got Implicate and Skull Splitter, so go ham. Now if you find this a little too cheesy, a little too OP, everything's too easy, because it is, now I have another build for you. It's called the Climber build. If you like climbing stuff, you can use Draw and Quarter instead of Blades of the Pyre, and this lets you climb onto enemies, and we're going to get into augments in just a little bit, and you can use the necessary augments that support your ability. Then we've got the Assassinate build, so you can use Smoke Shroud with Implicate. This is another good combo. Like Smoke Shroud and Implicate both do the same thing, that basically put enemies into a non-combative state, and it lets you use Twin Fangs. So you use Smoke Shroud, use Twin Fangs to assassinate, or you use Implicate to pull targets and assassinate. So this is the Assassinate build. So whatever playstyle you prefer, we've got some different options here. Now let's talk about augments. Now, first things first, you want to use Ambuscade in pretty much all your builds. because Ambuscade lets you do 10% extra damage when targets are not in battle stance. Now, battle stance, this also means when they're stunned or when they have not seen you. Remember I talked about smoke screen? That also counts as not being in battle stance. You are going to not only assassinate them, but you're also going to do 10% extra damage. You pull harpies with implicate, you assassinate them, you're going to do extra damage. So yeah, it's a very, very versatile ability. Also, when big targets are down, when you wail on them, like dragons and chimera heads and stuff, you're going to do extra 10% damage. So a must-have for a thief. Amazing ability. Next up, I have metal and aperturism. I don't know if I pronounce it right. This will give you 30% magic defense and 30% physical defense. It's always nice to have, you know, in cases where you get hit. Now I've got exaltation here for stamina recovery speed. You get this by leveling the mage class to max, I believe. So it is always good to have your stamina recover fast when you're using you know, your smoke shroud, or when you're using your formless feint. Just had a brain fart, my bad. When you're using a formless feint, your stamina will drain pretty quickly. Once it's over, and when you wanted to recover, really, really quickly. So this is great. Then we've got endurance, 150 extra stamina. More stamina means more ability spam, more formless feint, more blades of the pyre, more skull splitter, more everything. This is just a great ability to have. And we're going to talk about why this is so good when you pair it up with your mage. When you use Celestial Pain with your mage, you will also have like an infinite stamina for a long time. So yeah, you can see where I'm going with all the DPS potential. Now for the last slot, now this is a very open slot. Now it really depends on your playstyle. So for example, a large portion of the game I was using the detection augment for this slot because I was trying to find the seeker's token and whatnot, and the stones. So I was using that. Honestly, this is a very open slot. You could have subtlety if you really want early on, but subtlety becomes pretty much useless when you have formless feint. Like you don't care about being targeted. Gratification is not worth it. It only restores 4% health. By the way, if you're wondering why my skill descriptions are like this, I have a mod that tells you exactly what a skill does, as well as the rings and the equipment and all that. Poise, not worth it. Vigor, if you are a climber build, this is actually worth it. If you prefer the climbing style, if you use draw and quarter abilities and stuff, you will definitely need this. Lets you use less stamina. Verve, honestly, early on it's a good thing to have, augments your strength by 30, but towards endgame it really doesn't matter. 30 is not enough. It's just very little. I would just skip this. Provocation, don't care. This is all lethality. Now this is another one. You get this from Ranger, increases damage dealt by 5% when you're striking the target's vitals. Now it's nice to have early on, I suppose, but towards endgame, when you're toppling monsters and you're knocking them down, I would rather have Ambuscade for 10% extra damage. Now if you really want, you could put this in, but personally I'd go for something else. Now if you're a climber, I would also recommend Avidity. It lets you climb things really fast. You can decide which one to swap out. If you are a climber build, I would highly recommend Avidity and let's see, where was it? And Vigor. Now let's go with the rest. The other augments, again, More HP is nice to have. It really depends on what you want with your build. This is what I recommend. Now let's jump into the mage setup. So your pawn, I run a mage pawn because a mage pawn, you can never go wrong with a mage pawn, right? Now these are the abilities that I use. I have 3 support skills and 1 DPS skill. So high 11 or high trigger are good options to have. I personally like high 11 because, again, flying enemies are annoying to deal with, and high trigger usually does not hit flying enemies. So for that part, and also high 11 can like sometimes hit like the Cyclops heads and ogre heads and stuff, while high trigger can usually miss. So yeah, again, decide which one you want. I would not recommend anything else. Like fire abilities, fire is nice, but only for griffins. Most of the enemies towards endgame, they don't take that much damage from fire. All right, high palladium. This is great. Like, high palladium lasts a long time. It lets you absorb damage. Now, in case your formless feint is not up, or if you're running like a build that does not use formless feint, let's say the climber build, for example, high palladium is amazing. It's so good. It will block 2 or 3 hits regardless of damage. You do get knocked out, like knocked down, if a hit is too big, but you will not take damage, which is great, right? It's an amazing ability. I highly recommend it. Now, ice affinity for those end game monsters. Now, you don't really necessarily need ice affinity because you use ice dagger, but I have this because I want my pawn to get hired, and people really love ice affinity towards end game, right? So you never know, maybe the people hiring pawns are not playing thieves and they're not using ice weapons. I believe thief and mage are the only ones that have access to ice weapons. I could be wrong, but anyway, either way, ice affinity is great overall. Freezes enemies, does great damage towards endgame, good buff. Overall, it'll get your pawn hired, so I highly recommend this. Now, we've got Celestial Pain here. This will give you 10 seconds of, well, it not only refills your stamina, it'll give you 10 seconds of infinite stamina, plus like extra speed and reduced damage. Without those extra 10 seconds, this is an insane ability on your mage. So while you're using Formless Feint, your stamina constantly drains, but when your mage uses this ability, Celestial Pain, it'll not only refill your stamina bar, it'll give you 10 seconds, right? So you can spam your Draw and Quarter or Blades of the Pyre or Skull Splitter, whatever you want. This is amazing. So this is what I recommend for your mage. As far as the augments go for your mage, once again, both the defensive augments, you know, a Protroism, a Metal, you've got Beatitude for extra heals, I've got Exaltation for stamina recovery, I've got Endurance for more stamina. More stamina means they can spam more abilities, they can spam more Palladium, Ice Affinity, this and that, you know, so it's great. And then of course Subtlety, so you don't get targeted. Your mage doesn't get targeted. Right, so that was my setup. I really hope, yeah, I will, don't worry. I don't think I went too much detailed on your actual gear. Honestly, the armor does not really matter. For one, you're not gonna get hit, so it doesn't really matter. Just buy whatever you want from the shops. Again, early on, I have the video that I showcased. It will give you a good idea where to buy early game gear for the thief. Then you can buy some gear in Checkpoint Rest Town, and then you can also buy stuff in Bakbatal, and then you can buy in the final area. Just buy whatever suits you, and some of these things you can just find in chests. As far as the rings, now let's get into the rings now. Depending on your playstyle, your rings can change, and I have some recommendations. Now, Ring of Triumph, I think you get this by exchanging some Seeker's token. Let me double check.
Business with the guild, sir.
Ring of Triumph. It's just 15 Seeker's token, only 15, and you get this amazing ring. It's a great ring. It gives your it gives you 100 health, 100 stamina, and also a little bit of extra carry weight. Amazing overall ring. Towards the end of the game, it is possible to acquire another one of this. So for a generalized build, you could put 2 of these together. No big deal. Another one I recommend is Ring of the Humans. You get this from quests and things like that. I'm not gonna get too much into detail where you get this. Let's just keep the video going. I'm gonna keep it quick. So this boosts your knockdown power by 100. Now, if you're using Blades of the Pyre setup, right? Formless Feint, Blades of the Pyre, you are going to get a lot of knockdown power. And I also recommend using the Dwarven upgrading path to get more knockdown on your daggers. So you will, even if you use Cult Splitter, you will also be knocking things pretty easily. Now, if you're using, say, another ring I have is, you could also use Ring of Momentum, which gives you another 150 stamina. It's always nice to have this, like more stamina. 150 is a lot. So you could use this. Another option is Ring of Quickening. It'll boost your stamina recovery by 10. On top of the augment, this is also a good option. Very, very good option. And finally, like I said, I have another Ring of Tramp here. All good options for you. So you could decide what you want depending on your build. All right, so that is it for me. I hope I explained this build. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I wanted to keep this video as quick as possible, so I will try my best to answer your questions as much as I can. And until then, I'm going to see you guys hopefully in the next video. Take care. And do stop by on Twitch. I do stream on Twitch almost every day. So link in the description. All right, guys. See you next time.